Peace and blessings. This is Forward Progress. And just to let y'all know, this is Mr. James Hicks. Mr. Hicks is a formerly incarcerated man who has completely changed his life. Me, I am too, and I would love what we're doing here at Forward Progress is actually sharing these stories because they are stories that need to be highlighted in order that Congress people in prison, everyone can see these stories and be encouraged by them. So, Mr. Hicks, how you doing? Can you hear me, Mr. Hicks?
Yeah, but it's still lagging behind.
We just gonna have to roll forward.
Okay.
So, how you doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing real good. I don't have any complaints.
So, if you will, share a small piece of your story. Who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into the crux of everything.
Okay. Well, like Carlos said, my name is James Hicks. Most people call me Jay. Like he said, I was incarcerated. Have been incarcerated for almost 24 years under a 112-year sentence. Most of that came from the 924Cs. When Donald Trump signed the Second Chance Act, a little while later, that allowed me to be able to come home. I'll say that part of the story for later, but I've been home now about 2.5 years. And I'm doing pretty good for myself. I got out and working for Amazon, and I just recently switched over to another company called Warrior, where I drive. Got my CDL license and I drive now. Actually looking to open up a janitorial service around about maybe February or March. If I can get it done before then, that's what I want to do. Stay in the Memphis area. I know a lot of people are scared of the Memphis area. I kind of just keep to myself. Don't bother nobody. And fortunately, nobody has bothered me. And I know that's just the hand of the Most High keeping me safe. But yeah, I mean, I'm just enjoying life now, man.
Hey, as you should. Look, after doing 20 plus years, you should be able to enjoy life, to the fullest. So, here on Forward Progress, what we do go a little bit into your past before prison, but then we're gonna go through the prison part. But then what we're gonna do is highlight all the great things or the successes that you have become since prison, which you already have spoken a little bit about most of those or a few of those already. So before prison, can you tell me a little bit about your life, maybe even what you ended up, matter of fact, you served, so happy Veterans Day. Or happy belated Veterans Day. And go into a little bit of that history, and then maybe the crime, and then what we'll do, we'll transition.
Okay. So you want me to start with the period prior to my incarceration?
Yes.
Okay. Well, coming out of high school, I went into the Army. Really wasn't something that I intended on doing, but it ended up happening, and it was a good thing for me. And so I stayed in the military for about 5 years, and got out, and I did pretty good in the military. Could have done better, but I was kind of hot-headed. Whatever was on my mind, I spoke it, and that tended to get me in a lot of trouble. And so anyway, once I exited the military, I really did not have a plan for life at all. And so what they ended up doing was allowing me whatever really kind of floated in my direction. I either say yay or nay. And that's not good because I didn't have any focus. And so I got married while I was 19. She was 18. After I got out the military, that marriage did not work out. We had two children together, and again, we separated and divorced. And I didn't expect that divorce to happen. As men, we don't really tend to think that we're emotional creatures. It's just my opinion that we are more emotional than women. We just don't channel. It's more masculine to channel it using violence, and so that's what we do. But anyway, that divorce broke me down, and I took on an I don't care attitude, and I literally lived by whatever, whenever, however, and whoever. Most people viewed me as crazy, and maybe I was. I don't know. I think I was just more hurt. I was more hurt, not knowing how to process it and deal with it in the correct manner. So, I kept a good job, but when we moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, because I got out the military at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and we moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so when I got out, we moved into an apartment complex that I thought was in a pretty good area of town by the looks of it. It took me a couple of months to realize that the apartment complex was good. It was a gated community, but the area wasn't a good area. We stayed right there next to the projects, And so, of course, whether you believe it or not, your environment plays a big part on who you allow in your life and what you will allow in your life. And so, I started allowing individuals in my life that I probably wouldn't have allowed had I lived in another type of neighborhood. And so I began to smoke marijuana, began clubbing, and so after the divorce took place, my life took a turn for the worse because then certain destructive behaviors that were being suggested, I would go with it. I didn't really see. I'm not gonna say anything to live for because I wasn't suicidal. Just more hurt and wanting to cause as much destruction and pain as I could. And so it started with me selling a little marijuana. And then from that, it graduated to me selling crack cocaine. And then eventually it culminated into me doing a couple of robberies. I went on a robbery spree for about three and a half weeks. And the crazy part is I didn't have to do any of that. I was making enough money at the where I was working, where I didn't have to do any of that. I was working for a company where we was installing telephone and PC jacks. This kind of like at the beginning of the internet boom. The internet's been there a lot longer than most people realize. And we were at this particular time, you may see the commercials on TV where they talk about the major cancer research centers. And there was one in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was open, and they was still putting in the communications in the different offices and departments there. And that's what I was a part of. Again, this is back in 97. In 97, I was making $20-something an hour.
Okay.
At the beginning of 98, the company was supposed to send me to Canada for about 6 months. They were going to pay the room and board, and I was going to be making close to $40 an hour by being out of the country. And so, again, me doing the crime, man, it wasn't a monetary thing that I was after because I was already making good money. It was more or less the pain that had been generated behind losing my wife and kids, and more so because I knew it was it was behind my own foolish choices and decisions. And so, I was living a good life, outside of a lot of the bad choices and decisions that I made. And so, when I look back over the years, I hold myself accountable, and that's what's helped me heal through throughout those years that I was incarcerated.
So, you ended up doing a few robberies, ended up getting 112 years, I think you said.
Yeah, 112 years.
While in prison, you just got 112 years. I'm assuming from me knowing your background, but act as if I don't. I'm assuming where you ended up at was at the penitentiary. Share a little bit about your
Yeah,
inside story and your transition from your inside story to how you started teaching, because you became a teacher. You became a man
right, right.
who decided to make a lot of change, not only in your own life and everybody else's life that you came across. Me being one of them. Share the story.
Okay. It's a lot of humor in this story too. Uh, I wasn't a gang member. Um, I felt like I was one of the toughest and roughest dudes prior to going to prison, and realized soon after that I wasn't nowhere near it. Prison for me was a truly humbling experience, and so I stayed in the county jail there in Tulsa for about a year. Well, some people know, but a lot of people might not know this. Was when I first caught my case. Um, the guys that were testifying against me were telling their partners that I was telling on them. So, with me being an out of towner, of course, uh, they believe the partners over me. And so, for about maybe 8 months, 8 or 9 months, um, I was in PC in the county jail.
Mm.
Um, Behind that, uh, the guys that were telling on me, they were gang members. Two of them were Crips, and one of them was a Blood. And then I had my roommate, um, that did the same thing, along with the Blood's girlfriend, little Blood dude's girlfriend. So I'm sitting in the county jail, and man, I don't have just one particular gang trying to get me. I got Crips and Bloods trying to kill me for something I didn't even do. And so from the beginning, it created a rage in me that somebody was trying to kill me over something that I didn't do. And it caused me to it caused a tremendous hate in me for snitches. And I'm talking about I hated them. I wanted to see all of them die, and die miserably. Um, my mindset changed over that. Over the years, I don't wish anybody no harm. If you ask me, do I like those type of dudes? I don't like the actions. I
Mhm.
try not to hate people anymore. To hate a person that's a very strong thing. But I do hate that action because most snitches that get on that stand, they don't tell the truth. Uh, they were just telling the truth. It probably wouldn't be as bad, but they always enhance or embellish the story to make you look a lot worse than what you really were. But long story short, I sat in that county jail for uh, over a year. And about 8, 9 months of it, I was in PC. And that left a bitter taste in my mouth too, because I've never been a coward. Uh, you know, Never really backed down a whole lot, but that was one time I had to. I had to go for my own safety. Again, it all got straightened out 8-9 months later, but to me, mentally and psychologically, the damage had already been done, and so I remember the day that I pulled chains going to prison. And prior to going, I didn't know where I was going, but I did not expect to be going to one of the highest level security prisons within the federal system from day one. And so I remember riding in the van, going to the Oklahoma Transfer Center, and the marshals kind of teasing everybody about where they were going. And so, but he wouldn't say nothing to me at first. And finally, I said, hey man, you told everybody else where they going, where I'm going. He say, just put it like this, where you going, you ain't got to worry about being cold too much. And I said, Florida? He said, no, you ain't going Florida. He said, you going down south, deep down south. And finally, he told me I was going to Texas. And then he told me I was going to Beaumont. And I had never heard of Beaumont, Texas prior to that. And so I said, oh, okay. And so once I got to the transfer center, and, you know, I didn't know anybody. I mean, absolutely nobody. Carlos, you know, like when you start moving through the system, after you've been in the system a while, you start seeing people that you haven't seen in a while. And, you know, y'all begin to talk, catch up on stuff and, you know, what have you. And I'm watching everybody around me talking. I wasn't talking to anybody. And I'm pretty sure that from other guys' perceptions, they probably thought I was just some hardened criminal, you know, cold-blooded killer or something in that nature. I've always been told that I keep a mean look on my face. Over the years, I've tried to kind of make sure I smile a whole lot more and look more amicable to people. But anyhow, once I finally did start, somebody struck up a conversation with me and asked me where I was going. And I said, well, all I know is I'm going to Beaumont. And remember, this is at the end of 98. This is December 98. And those are the only words that I spoke up to that time. Was probably the guy, you know, not welcoming me, but greeting me and me greeting him back. And then him asking me where I was going. And all I said was, they say I'm going to Beaumont. And it's like that whole pod got quiet. And everybody turned and looked in my direction. And I didn't realize I didn't realize what was going on at the time. But whatever look on my face that made me look like a killer, those words just kind of enhanced it. And anybody that knows me knows I'm far from a killer now. I ain't no killer. I may look mean sometimes, but I'm not all that mean. And I'm a very compassionate person. You know, the only time I really in the past, because I don't participate in violence no more. The act of violence was when I felt like the person was just really, really just playing with me and just giving too much grace, and it was just time for me to help them understand that I'm not one of the people you're gonna play with like that. But so you know, the guy say, well, which one you going to in Beaumont or something of that nature? This has been over 20 years ago, so I don't remember the exact conversation. And I was like, well, what you mean, which one? He said, well, you going to the FCI, or you going to the camp, or you going to the pen? I said, well, I don't know. What's the difference? He said, well, you don't want to go to the USP. So then somebody else chimed in, and I remember that's when the nickname of what Beaumont was came out.
Bloody Beaumont.
He said, Bloody Beaumont. And so on the outside, my composure is calm. Like I'm cool, calm, collected. But I'm already scared to death, knowing I'm getting ready to go to prison. I ain't never been to prison before. Only time I've been to jail was for 8 days in my life. And I was scared to death then, the truth be told.
I'm sorry.
So hold on, I thought I turned this phone off. Turn it all the way off now. So man, when that dude said Bloody Beaumont, man, I swear I defecated my heart. It felt like my heart just dropped through the pit of my stomach, man, that a place would be called Bloody anything, you know. And then I started hearing the different stories about Beaumont and everything. And I'm like, oh, man, what the hell I done got myself into. And so the dude say, well, when you go see the counselor, ask the counselor which one of them you going to, because you might not be going to the USP, you know. And I was like, yeah, I hope I ain't. So, you know, I had already been told, like, people asking a whole bunch of different questions about my case and things of that nature. You know, don't be giving that information out. And I had been instructed that, like, don't be asking people how much time they got, and don't really be just telling people how much time you got. And so all of this stuff after hearing all of that just kind of like left me, you know, with the exception of don't be talking about your case. And so the guy asked me, he said, yeah, he said, you might not be going to the USP. He said, how much time you got? I said, 112 years. He said, damn, how many people you killed? And, you know, that was the normal question whenever I would tell somebody how much time I had. The question they would ask was, how many people, not who did you kill, but how many people did you kill? And the next one is, what you do to piss the judge off? You know, and especially when I would tell them, man, I just run robbery street.
Let me ask you a question. I do want to transition this story because even though, look, this is it ain't even funny. It's funny now, but look, what?
It's funny now. It's real funny now. I was scared of shit back then.
With me knowing your background, right? I know you was in the military. The only reason why some of your actions, your destructive actions, came from the pain, the hurt. Sitting in prison, what made you decide to teach classes? What made you decide to do certain things? Because you're in Bloody Beaumont. You're in a place where it's going down. People are stabbing, doing everything. I think you stayed in the pen probably, 11, 12 years, give or take. What made you decide to transition a thought of, I got 112 years, I might as well just do whatever I can do, and decide to help where you was at?
Okay. I had when I first got to prison, the pain was even more intensified. And now at that point, I didn't care whether I lived or died, because I felt like I was gonna die in prison. And so you know, when I got there, not understanding how prison worked and the politics of prison, man, right away I was a knucklehead right away. Not a knucklehead in the sense that I was actually putting in no work or nothing like that. But after talking to me, people kind of knew that I had a couple of loose screws, and I wouldn't have admitted it back then. But when I look back on it, yeah, I was mentally disturbed back then. And so one of my favorite games in life has always been chess. I've been playing chess since I was probably about maybe 10, 11 years old. And so right away, you know, I gravitated towards the chess tables. And never was the best on any compound that I was in, but you know, I think I can say I was in the top, somewhere between 10 and 15 on any compound that I've been on,
But
which is
the
saying a
top
lot.
100.
Yeah, no, a whole lot higher than that, fella.
I'm playing with you. Look, don't pay no attention.
So, but you know, anybody that knows anything about the game of chess, man, anybody that plays chess on a high level, man, those are some pretty tremendous thinkers, and they think moves ahead. These are the type of people that I began to rotate with, and so two of the guys, it was an older guy named Smokey. I never forget. Smokey worked in the butcher shop, and it was a dude from Ohio named Dave. They called him the Shaolin Master. Man, them dudes was tremendous on that chessboard. But those are two of the dudes that when I first got to Beaumont, that I really enjoyed being around, watching them play chess and playing against them, even though they was beating the brakes off of me back then. And so they would talk to me a lot, and a couple of the older, that caused me to begin to talk to some of the older guys that was on the block that I was on. I was on EB, and EB was a pretty laid back block. And so, you know, whenever I be having some of my outbursts or you know whatever, some of the older guys will pull me up, and some of the guys my own age that kind of like me or whatever. And I'll never forget what they used to always tell me, man. Listen, man, you need to stay out of trouble. I know it looked bad for you right now. You got all that time. They say, but one day the law gonna change. And if you around here cutting up, if that judge has the choice between letting you out of prison and keeping you in prison, he gonna keep you in prison. And that used to always resonate with me. And you know, again, I'm gonna tell the truth. You know, I'm not gonna sit up here on this podcast like maybe some of these other guys, whether their story is true or not. That's none of my business. I won't in prison trying to run around putting in no work. You know, I'm not gonna tell you that I did not go to do something that I ain't had no business doing a couple of times, and by the hand of Yahweh and the grace of Yahweh, I was rerouted to keep from doing that foolishness. But that's what kept me out of trouble most of the time. And so the first class I ever took was a course, a little small class called As a Man Thinketh. Mm-hmm. And so my counselor, which was a lady named Miss Hamrick at the time, and man, I would love Miss Hamrick. That lady was pretty to me. And so she called me in the office. She would call me in the office every now and then just to talk to me. You know, I don't know why, she just would like to talk to me or whatever. I'm not saying the lady liked me or nothing like that, but she did. And this one particular afternoon, she called me in there and she said, I'm going to put you in my class. I said, you going to put me in your class? What class is that? She said, As a Man Thinketh. I said, no, I ain't taking no classes. She said, what you mean you ain't taking no classes? I said, man, what am I taking class for? I mean, the people, all that time, them people just gave me, I'm not doing nothing. And she said, oh, yeah, you're going to be in the class. And it starts, and she told me whatever the day was, and you're going to be there. And I thought to myself, man, this lady crazy, talking to me like this. But bottom of the story was I was there. And man, it you know, that was the first time that I really just had a lot of positivity just aimed in my direction, and something to make me focus and think, hey man, it ain't over. This is the first time that, you know, I really like from a mental point was saying, hey man, it ain't over yet. And so I took that class, man, and that was the beginning of kind of like me changing my mindset. But the main class that it was a class. It was the code program. They call it the challenge program now, I think. But back then it was a lot more intense. You was in that program for a year and a half. I think they only do like about 9 months now. And no, you were in that program for a year. No, it was either a year and a half. But I did that whole program, man. And the one book that really just began to change my whole way of thinking was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That book right there, man, I still got it today. I still read it from time to time today to remind me of the principles and the moral and ethic values that I need to be holding. And so all of this was for a reason. So there was a dude named Hawkins that worked in the recreation department. Hawkins actually used to play NFL football, but I worked up under him for a long time up on the recreation, and then he switched over to the education department. And so I wasn't one of them guys that had a whole lot of money coming from the streets. First of all, the money I thought I was making, that was a lot of money. Once I got in the feds and started meeting people, I realized, man, I was making peanuts. I was in the way out there. Yeah. And so, and then the little bit that I did have, because I'm in a city and state that I'm not from, when I got locked up, man, people went into my crib and they took it all. They took everything, which I'm really grateful for, because, they got there before the police got there. So the police weren't able to find nothing. So that really helped me out. But anyway, I had been told that tutors made a whole lot more than what most people on the compound made. So I said, man, I need some more money. I was always looking to make, more money and make it legally now. I won't look into to do anything illegal no more. I felt like I had enough time. I didn't need to be adding to it. I was trying to, give it back. And so I messed around and went and talked to Hawkins, and I asked him, I said, hey man, I'm trying to be a tutor. And he said, you ever had any experience being a tutor? I said, no. I said, no, I haven't. He said, all right, man, I'm gonna hire you, man, because you did good for me over in recreation, man. So I'm gonna hire you, man. And he hired me, man. And Carlos, I know you remember how hard it seemed that I was on students. And I learned this from Hawkins. His name is Virgil Hawkins. I never forget this dude, man, because he's funny too, man. And he was hard on them dudes, but he was hard on them dudes because he cared about them and he wanted to see them get their GED. And so I watched how he tutored, and I watched how effective his tutoring style was. But that's how I began teaching. And back then, tutoring, the inmate was never over the class. He just assisted the staff member. But over the years, man, like when we last left Bennettsville, the student ran the class completely, and the staff member barely came into the classroom. But that's how I began teaching right there.
So we're gonna transition again, because this is the reason for this, is to show the transition of the butterfly speaking of what the caterpillar had to go through to become what it has become. You're the butterfly now. People can, when they see you, they don't see what you used to be or what you have been through. They only see what you are, who you are now. But throughout this, you have done, yes, you was I would say, was in the military, decided to go in the mud, ended up in prison, transitioned with 112 years to coming home, but while there, working on you because of some great people, some people who decide to invest their time into you and their wisdom into you. And what you became is who you are, but you transitioned and helped a lot of people. But now, since coming home, because God, I like to say God is the only reason why you're at home. And I knew you from in there. You became one of my mentors. And I'm forever grateful for that, just to let you know that. So now I want you to transition, since you've been home, the things that you do, the things that you want to do, and where you want to see life go and how you want to impact it.
Okay. That's still blended into my time in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where the motivation of what I am doing and what I'm trying to accomplish came from. But like I said, I had a chance to rub shoulders with a lot of wealthy people. I mean, like extremely wealthy people, man. And I won't name anybody or nothing like that. That's their business. But I never asked for money. I would always just sit up under them, and I'm not even gonna say I was asking for knowledge either. But I mean, one thing that I learned about people that are wealthy is they'll give you the knowledge. If you just sit there long enough, they'll tell you how to be who they are or how to get to where they are, and they enjoy it. And so I was 24 when I got locked up, and so of course I was probably like one of the youngest ones on the compound, and I would listen to pretty much anybody with some sense that was older than me. And a lot of times, just sitting there, I was gleaning and creating what I wanted to do with my life once I gave that time back. Because I say at the beginning that I didn't think I was going to get a time back, but there was something in me intuitively. I got to say this, and that something was Java letting me know that, man, you're going to do some time now, but you're going to go home.
There's a
So
verse. There's a verse I want to
that's
give you
what
real
caused
quick.
me to.
There's a verse. It's in Jeremiah 29:11. I know the thoughts, or I know the plans I have towards you, not to harm you, but to prosper you and give you an expected end. Go ahead.
Excuse me. So, I used to listen to. I think one of the things that really inspired me, man, was I met a black guy that had owned his own bank, and I remember how he used to kind of like almost in the braggadocious way used to tell his stories, and everybody thought he was lying. And one day, he was telling me about his bank, and I ain't gonna lie, I thought he was lying too. And he said, "Come here, I'm gonna show you the paperwork." He said, "I see the look on your face, youngster. You don't think I'm telling the truth." And he took me upstairs, man, and he broke out all his paperwork, man, and he showed me that, man, this dude really owned the bank. And he said a lot of people think that it takes a whole lot of money to open a bank, but it don't. He began to lay out the process to me. And I began to really see that a lot of the stuff that the wealthy was doing, that it didn't take as much money as I was thinking that it did. And so then I was rubbing shoulders with people that own their own businesses, and they was telling me how they got started and what it was like running the businesses and things of that nature. And so it wasn't until a couple of years right before I got out that I decided I wanted to. Well, no, let me take that back. Early off, I knew that I wanted to go through King to open a business. Not because I got this great passion for cleaning, but going through a franchise, I reasoned that going through a franchise, it would help me to, first of all, not fail, because I ain't interested in failing. But second of all, it would teach me all of the aspects about owning a business and running a business. And whenever I opened up another business behind that, I could bring those principles that I learned from King. And I always wanted King to be the base business that I operated and that I never shut down. No matter what happened to the other businesses, I said I want that business to always continue. and to generate revenue, because one of the things that I learned was that you want to open a business in a sector that's never going to shut down, no matter what's going on. And COVID showed me that that particular sector right there, no matter what's going on, people always need somebody to clean.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, so that's where that idea came from. But it was a couple of years prior to my release that I started talking to a lot of people about driving trucks and owning a transportation company. And so I honestly didn't have any ambitions of driving no truck. That ain't what I was trying to do. And that's a wonderful career. So it's not that I'm knocking it, but that isn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to own my own transportation company. I ain't wanted to be big, just something small, about 5. I wanted about 5 tractor trailers. And just work with that. I felt like if I couldn't make it with about 5 tractor trailers, then I ain't need to be in that business anyhow. And so I remember talking to a guy named LA that was on the block with me prior to me getting out. And I was sharing my dreams with him. And he said, "Bro, Hicks, you could have been talking to me about that." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I own my own company out there." And so he began to lay out a lot of things to me. And then he began to let me know, hey, you don't want to get out and just jump straight into the trucking company. He said, that's a mean business right there. And he said, it's a lot about the industry that you want to find out prior to you beginning to own your own transportation company. He said, I suggest you go out there and drive for a couple of years so you can learn the ins and outs of the business and then open up your transportation company. And so that's what I'm in the process of now. That's why I'm driving now. And not just that, it's a pretty lucrative career. And especially if you can afford to be out on the road for weeks at a time, or if you find a company where you can be out for maybe 4 or 5 days at a time, 7 days at most, and come on home for a couple of days, man. A lot of these drivers making now you ain't gonna make, because a guy told me, man, this is the new dope boy money. Nah, this ain't the new dope boy money. But it is some good money. You can make anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500, depending on the company you're working for, the type of routes and the type of loads that you're pulling, and what type of depending on the endorsements you get on your CDL license. So that's what I'm in the middle of now. Like I say, I'm driving. The company I'm driving for, I'm really enjoying it because I'm home every day. Also, like I said, I'm hoping by February, March at the latest to have my janitorial service up, and get that going so that I can begin experiencing being an entrepreneur. I'm 50 years old now, and I'm hoping to retire by the time I'm 57, 58. So I'm where I wasn't focused prior to coming to prison, man. I'm extremely focused now, and I try not to let nothing or anything or anyone knock me off that path. I don't do a whole lot of hanging out. In fact, I don't do any hanging out. Work, home, that's pretty much it. In my fraternity, that's all I do. And I have found that because I just purchased a home about 2 months ago, 3 months ago now, and I have found that in purchasing that home, my whole focus is in making it what I want it to be, and I'm so comfortable coming home that it's just like, why would I want to spend time in the streets anyhow? Ain't nothing out there. Nothing.
Let me see, where was I going? There's many successes that you have accomplished. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that you was one of the people that I got on here, because of me knowing your past history and me sharing time with you. I can't remember. You edit my book. I know you inspired me to keep going and keep drawing while sitting in prison. You was one of my greatest supporters of my artwork. And after I let you read the book, you supported it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for who you are and for being a part of my life. I know God knows how to work your life out. And I feel like you and there's a plethora of brothers that actually added and poured into me. I am the reason why the person I am because God chose y'all to be a part of my life. So I tip my hat to you. I just want to tell you I thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming on here and being a part of this. And hey, much success. You are forward progress. May God bless you in
Mm-hmm.
every endeavor that you
You know,
pour your
I
mind, heart, and soul into.
yeah. Uh, uh, you have definitely been an inspiration to me in prison and while you out. Let me tell everybody this. I remember when Carlos went home and he left his number and we stayed in contact with each other. But even before I left, he kept telling me, man, walk to the gate. Envision yourself walking to the gate and leaving out every day. I ain't gonna say I did it every day, but I did it as much as possible. And he told me, he said, man, go ahead and pack your stuff, man. He said, man, go ahead and pack your stuff. And I got sellers that and people that will vouch for this, man. I packed up everything. And you know, I packed up everything, sent a lot of stuff home, man. As much stuff home as I could, so that I wouldn't have to tote a whole lot of stuff. But I think the biggest inspiration from you, Carlos, came after I got home. Me and Carlos we kick ideas back and forth a whole lot, and you know, iron sharpens iron, and so, but I unexpectedly came home and was able to participate in writing the book, something I hadn't even thought about, and so that book, you know, I did that. It was, I'm not gonna say it was successful, but it was the catalyst to some other things that I'm trying to get accomplished, and I forgot all about that. But one of the things that I'm trying to do is a lot more public speaking.
Yes.
Yeah, I had once I wrote the book, or not wrote the book, but co-authored, because it was four of us together. I have a cousin that works at a university, and he invited me to come speak there, and a couple of years ago, and I went there, man, and it was a tremendous experience for me, and it touched me how the college students there, when they first got there, you can see their body language, like, oh, I'm just here just because they said I had to be here. But as the evening progressed, man, the body postures went from this to, you know, standing up straight and just really, and man, they asked a lot of questions, man, and I didn't lie to them. I didn't try to make prison out to be some super violent type of place. I mean, it is. And I didn't make myself look like I was just the big bad wolf. And I told people, I was scared to death. You know, I remember one college student asked me, say, when you first got locked up, what was the thing that you feared the most? And I think I told you about this, Carlo. I can look back on this now and laugh. And for me to even admit it shows you how humbling prison was for me. Man, the thing that I was scared of the most was being raped. You know, I'd heard so many stories about dudes getting raped in prison. You know, and it's not funny, but just the idea that feeling plagued me. That I'm talking about, man.
Look at all
boy,
the stuff that they
I
show.
ain't even want to take a shower when I first got to prison.
Look, when they show prison on TV, this is all they show is rape. They don't show all the stuff that
Yeah.
isn't the majority of prison. But this is what they show you about prison. And that's crazy, man, that they put that stigma in people's mind that me and a gay that come home from prison. I don't know that many people. I ain't saying that it ain't, but it's not that many people that's that way.
But now too, Carlos, you got to remember we was in the feds, so the feds were totally different than them state prisons do.
Back in the day,
because a lot of that activity is still going on in the state.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, back in the day, it used to be rough. But look, hey, I really do thank you for joining me. And hey, I appreciate it. Me and you'll be building. And once again, thank you for your forward progress. Because this right here is, I'm praying, because I ain't gonna say I'm trying. I'm praying that this is going to be a catalyst to inspire and impact people in prison and all these Congress people, all these lawmakers, policymakers. They can see us and make the changes, but use us to make the changes that need to be made with the youth and with people in prison. So once again, thank you. And me and you'll be building, man. This is for progress. Do you have any other words?
Okay, then,
anything that you can say that may inspire somebody before you leave? If you could say one thing, what would it be?
Just this, what I tell the youth now, man. Man, you see how the streets is going. That ain't the life. That's not the life. We dying younger and younger and younger. Most people don't expect it to reach the age of 21, and when they do, they really become reckless. Man, it's nothing wrong with living a peaceful life. It's nothing wrong with, living a right life. And you don't have to be poor or broke to do it. Live within your means. But if people like me and Carlos can be incarcerated with all this time, Yahweh shows us grace and mercy to allow us to come from behind those walls and come back out here, and we can be successful. Man, you can do it too, man. One of the things, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna shut up. One of the things that has really inspired a lot of people around me is the fact that I just purchased a home. There have been so many guys that have been like, Mr. James, for you to have been home only 2 years and to have bought a house already, man, I got to step my game up. And I like hearing that. I like hearing that I have inspired somebody to do better, because a lot of people could have just been on some hating stuff, because it has been some people on some hating stuff. But I think I have inspired more people than I have cause to hate because of how I carry myself, And so just our lifestyles, me and your lifestyle, Carlos, as well as a lot of other people, if we can come home and almost in a little of no time become somewhat success stories overnight, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. You just gotta put the work in. By putting the work in, I don't mean like physical work. I'm talking about mental work. You got to go see how you can make that thing become accomplished. And by doing that, man, once you look into it, man, you're gonna do it. I'm not saying everybody's gonna be super rich, but man, you can become comfortable in life, and if we did it, man, you can do it. That's all I would say, Carlos.
The Bible says, let your light so shine among men that they may see your good works and glorify God, which is in heaven. Your Father, which is in heaven. What I do know is this. We are called to be the light. We are called to make these changes, but we let them know that there's a source that's pushing this light. And that's the biggest thing that I can hear from what you just said is, yes, you're being seen, but you're letting people understand where it's coming from. Look, peace and blessings. This is Forward Progress. And thank you, Mr. Hicks, for being a part of it.
You're welcome.
Let me end.